this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to talk to you about what is now possibly my most favourite gaming headset, at least on PC, the Arctis Nova Pro Wireless from SteelSeries. This is a premium headset and a really expensive one, but a fantastic bit of kit for a number of different reasons, and this is possibly taking the crown as my favourite headset for a number of different reasons. There are some great features with this headset: great sound, customizable audio, swappable batteries, convenient dual connectivity, and a lot more besides. As you can see when you get out of the box, it comes with a really premium setup that includes multiple cables, a charging base station which gives you great connectivity, and a lot more besides, including a carrying bag and all sorts of other things. Now, I said that this is my favorite headset now, and I actually think this replaces the Astro A50 Gen 4 as my top favorite headset of all time for a number of different reasons. And I did a video on why that was my favorite headset, although it might not be the best for everybody. And this one replaces that because it is great for multiple reasons and multiple use cases and ticks so many different boxes in a number of great ways. You'll see loads of different things included in the box, including 2 USB-A to USB-C cables, which mean that you can connect it to both PC and console at the same time, and then switch between the audio sources without faffing around with cables. It also comes with a 3.5mm connection, should you want to use that. It has Bluetooth connectivity as well as the 2.4 GHz connection. And for reference, I'm going to be using this on PC for the most part, but I'm also going to do a mic test nearer the end and show you Bluetooth connectivity and how you can use the microphone out of the house on this headset, connected to your phone to take calls and do other things, so that's pretty nifty. You will see that the microphone is also buried away in the headset in this retractable extendable microphone, which means that you can hide it away and basically turn what is a gaming headset into a very subtle and very nice looking pair of headphones, with some other interesting highlights that include these removable speaker tags on the outside, which on the underside reveal some interesting points. You'll see there's a USB-C port here, for example, so you can plug it in and charge if necessary, which it really shouldn't be, and you'll see why in a second, because under the other ear cup is a battery which you can remove. Now, this is nothing new. The Arctis Pro Wireless did this for a while with a battery which you could take out and swap with the one that's in the base station, which means you can charge one battery and then have the other one in your headset and then swap them out when necessary. The thing that I found interesting with this one is it seems to be slightly hot swappable in that it will remain slightly on, and when you take the battery out and replace it, you actually don't have to then power the headset back on. It automatically does it for you, which is really nifty and a nice upgrade from the previous headset, which did require you to manually turn it back on. You do have a little bit of downtime while you're swapping the batteries where you're not getting audio, but it does automatically turn back on. So you can see that you can put the battery in there and then charge it up. It also lasts for a long time, a claim of 22 hours per battery. I have found that I have had to change it out quite a bit, but I'm also using Bluetooth as well as that wireless connection. Now, as I said, you have USB 1 and 2 with a single USB connection plugged into PC. You then have that 2.4 GHz connection, and you can just use it like that. Later on, though, I'll show that you can also use the 3.5mm in for other uses, which is another reason that I really like it. But as you can see, you can also plug in via USB if I want to. And also you have that 3.5mm cable included in the box as well. So there's loads of different flexibility here. And one of the most important things for me is the fact that you have dual connectivity. So it has 2.4 GHz, but it also has Bluetooth connectivity, and you can have them both at the same time, which means that you can listen to music on your phone, but also be listening to game audio via the 2.4 GHz connection. And as I said, swap those batteries out when you need to. So basically, you never need to plug this headset in because one battery is always on charge, which is great. Also, it's a great looking headset. Nice, good quality build to it, and really good looking from a number of different angles. There's some really plush, deep cushioned ear cups. One of the things of note as well is that it also has active noise cancellation, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But what you'll see and what I found is actually the ear cups aren't removable, which I found quite surprising because they were removable on the wired version. I couldn't seem to get them off here, and I didn't want to break it. They're not easy, and I couldn't pull them off no matter how hard I tried. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty confident that you can't take these off. You'll also see that there's a little nipple on the inside, which I believe is a microphone because the spec say that it has 4 mics, and that's for the active noise cancellation. So you've got 2 on the outside and then 2 on the inside. So it actually gives you an idea of the audio that it's capturing and the sound that it's delivering. And we'll talk about sound in a little while. On the headset, you'll also notice that you have a mic mute button, volume control, and the power button. Interestingly, the power button not only turns it on, but also acts as a button which will allow you to turn the ANC on and off. And then you have this sort of pass-through system where you can essentially hear the surrounding environmental noise with just a single press. So if you want to hear what's going on around you, you can do that. That's called a transparency mode. And you can see the microphones on the ear cup here and where they sit. Now, I will say that the active noise cancellation isn't as good as I'd like. It does a great job of blocking out fan noise from a PC and car noise from outside, but it did not do a very good job of blocking out my wife and her unnecessarily incessant Teams calls that she's constantly on. One thing that is fantastic, though, is that you can connect to Bluetooth really easily. So you can pair it with a device, for example, a phone here, and connect up and listen to your favorite tunes, either when you're at your PC or away from it. So I tried, as you'll see later on, taking this out of the house and just using it as headphones with a Bluetooth connection. Obviously, you can make a call with a microphone if you want to, or you can just listen to audio. But you have that dual connection, which is fantastic, meaning that you can do both at the same time. There may be different use cases for this, but for me personally, it means that you could listen to music from Spotify via Bluetooth, but not have that music playing on your PC if you were streaming on Twitch or YouTube or somewhere like that where you're worried about copyright strikes. You don't want your audience hearing your music, but you want to listen to music, and that is something you can do this way, which is pretty nifty, or just for the convenience of being able to control your music that way. You can also see that if you press the Bluetooth button, you can also use it to control the audio. So a couple of presses, for example, and it will skip tracks, and multiple presses it will rewind and do other things. And you can also use the volume wheel to control audio there. Now, another massive highlight for me personally is that you can use the base station with a 3.5mm connection to connect up to something a bit more serious in terms of mic monitoring. So I've got the Elgato Wave XLR, for example, which is an XLR preamp. If you use a 3.5mm connection and then plug that into the line in, that essentially means that you can then use an XLR microphone, whichever one you want. I personally use the Shure SM7B as my mainstay. You can plug that into there, plug it into the control box, then you can wirelessly mic monitor. So you can do all that and have the broadcast quality set up. You can see another setup here with the Rodecaster Pro 2. That's connected to 3.5mm to the base station. And then I can use all my usual audio sources that I'd use for streaming and other things on voiceovers for video like I'm doing right now. And I can monitor that through the headset and play back the audio that way. One thing I have noticed is there is an ever so slight bit of latency with the mic monitoring. So there's a bit of a delay on hearing yourself, which is painful and a little bit annoying. But when playing games, there isn't a problem with that. So I haven't got a problem with the latency in the game audio, just the mic monitoring. At least that's what I've noticed anyway. Now, with the game audio, it's pretty fantastic for a number of different reasons. I was immediately aware of a few things. One of which was, as I said already, the active noise cancellation is okay, but not amazing. So I was going from Beyerdynamic headphones, which have a really good passive noise cancellation and eliminate a lot of background noise, just because of the depth and quality of the ear cushions. So I immediately noticed that I could still hear surrounding environmental noise a little bit in terms of my wife and things like that, but it really blocks out fan noise and sort of white noise quite easily. The other thing I was struck by is there's not as much bass as there is with those wired headphones, but I'm not saying it lacks bass. It still sounds fantastic. And one of the great things about this headset is the Sonar Sound. So the SteelSeries GG software has Sonar Sound, which allows you to tweak the sound in a number of different ways. You can see me playing Escape from Tarkov here, and there are settings specifically for that game, which you can access via Sonar, which then give you focus on things like footsteps and other sounds. It basically tweaks the audio in order to make it sound better and focus specifically for that. I've done a video separately on how to set up the wired version of this headset for streaming purposes if you're interested, and I'll link to that video in the description where I go into a bit of depth about that. But Sonar is really powerful in a number of ways because you can customize the audio that you're getting from the game, you can customize the audio from your microphone, and you can also customize audio from Discord chat as well. So there's loads of different things that you can do in terms of tweaking it. Now, a couple of other minor points that I've had in terms of issues with the headset. I found one of the issues is if I go too far from the base station, if I go all the way downstairs to get a drink from the kitchen, for example, there is a really horrible noise as the headset disconnects and reconnects. It makes a screeching sound in my ears, which is painful. You can adjust the software settings to actually account for this and to focus on range instead, but it is something that is worth bearing in mind. I've also found that very, very occasionally the headset disconnected and I think it went to sleep because it thought I wasn't using it. And that happened in the middle of a Zoom call, which wasn't ideal. Basically, the headset audio stopped working and I no longer couldn't hear what was going on. And I found that in the SteelSeries engine software, you could tweak the settings in there to stop it from going to sleep. But I still found very rarely, for some reason, it just disconnected for no apparent reason, and I had to manually turn the headset back on in order to get it working. But these are very sporadic issues, and I don't think it's a problem that you'll have regularly because I've got quite a weird setup with basically running the audio through an extra preamp setup for the mic monitoring and such. But otherwise, it's fantastic in a number of different ways. Now I want to show you the Bluetooth mic connection and then go into a bit more depth on other things, including SteelSeries GG software as well. So stick around now to find out more about that.
And here I am in a field with the road right there, just over there. So if you hear car noise, that's why. And using the microphone from the headset just to show that you can do that, and also the quality of it, and obviously you can still mute it from here as well. But with active noise cancellation on, it does a good job of blocking out some of the noise from the road. And I can't hear the wind either, really. I can feel the wind on me, and there is definitely some wind. Downside is you can hear the thump of your feet on the ground, but you do have the option, obviously, of just pressing that power button once to turn on that surrounding environment and hear a bit more of what's going on. So now I can hear a lot more traffic noise when I've done that, which is quite obnoxious, and the wind. So the ANC is alright at cancelling out some of that, even when you're outside. And obviously, if I retract the microphone, the headset looks a lot more subtle. Actually, it's a good test to see whether the mic will still work when it's recessed. So this is the microphone now recessed into the headset, buried away. So as well as letting you use the microphone for calls and things like that, obviously you also have the ability to do things like double press the Bluetooth button to skip tracks and stuff while you're out and about as well, so you have some easy controls there. One of the other things is you can also use the microphone for smartphone commands with Google, for example. So I'm using the Google Pixel, so you can say OK Google and then give voice commands that way really easily, and then get the sound of the reply in the headphones as well. So there's a lot of different features that are really convenient with this headset that you can use while you're out and about as well as at your PC, which is really neat. So fantastic for that. However, one downside is if you're doing what I'm doing right now, which is walking a furry dog, it does get a bit hot with the faux leather because it's quite warm. It's not a hot day, but it's just faux leather. Gets your ears a bit sweaty when you're moving about a bit. So if you're quite a warm-blooded person like I am, just bear that in mind. So here I am now back with the wired connection instead of Bluetooth, and obviously now I'm using the microphone for a proper test. For the most part I've been using my usual dedicated XLR microphone throughout this video, apart from on that Bluetooth test that you just saw. But now I want to demonstrate what you can do with the headset. So here we are in the SteelSeries GG software, which gives you access to the engine where you can do firmware updates and also check on other settings. This is quite basic, the basic settings in here. Obviously this is on PC, this will vary on console and things like that. But you have adjustable audio settings, so you can go through various different things, including, for example, bass boost settings as the EQ, focus, smiley, custom settings, which for some reason has dropped down there. And you can tweak those sorts of things. You can also set the gain, you can change the output, you can do mic monitoring, so I can turn the mic monitoring on and put that up, and obviously you can then hear yourself through there, and it's quite compressed, so the mic isn't that impressive as standard, which is worth bearing in mind, and I'll get to more on that in a second with the SteelSeries software and the GG Sonar part of it. And another point, as I mentioned earlier on, is that you do have a setting where it will turn off if it's inactive for a certain amount of time. So obviously this is beneficial. You take the headphones off, put them down somewhere, go to get a drink or go to do something else. You don't want the waste of battery, so you can change the settings here. You can see it defaults to 30 minutes, but it will turn off faster if necessary, so you can tweak it to less. I actually have it turned off completely because what I found is when it's plugged in 3.5mm connection, when I'm running it that way, it seems to think it's not sending audio when you're not using it through the USB connection, or something is going on there. I'm not quite sure, but I found that just turning it off seems to counter the problem I was having where it would randomly turn off. You can also see that you can set it so it turns on Bluetooth when the headset powers on. So if you're always using Bluetooth connection and you don't want to have to press the Bluetooth button on the headset as well as USB, so if you have both and you like to have both connect at the same time, you can do that. Obviously having both will result in it draining a bit faster, and you can do other things. One of the important points down here is the 2.4 gigahertz mode. You can see it's set to speed or range. The issue I was having with on speed is if I go down to get a drink, as I said, I get that disconnection where it doesn't beep or anything where it warns you about the disconnection. The sound just drops out, but then I found it came back in at such a high level that it was like screeching at me, and then it would disconnect again and it would screech horrible sound, breaking up the audio of music or whatever you're doing, and then just horrific. So I actually find that if I go too far, it's quite painful, which, to be fair, it's not that the range isn't terrible. The range is not terrible, don't get that impression. The range is actually comparable with a lot of other wireless headsets I've tried, so that's not the issue. The issue is when it does get out of range, you get a painful sound in your eardrums, so I wouldn't recommend wearing it and then trying to go a long way from your PC or gaming device, so that's worth bearing in mind. So if we close down GG, just discard those for now, and you can go into Sonar. So it's really important to download Sonar because this makes quite a bit of difference. Now I went into a lot of depth with this on the wired headset. I'd recommend checking that out for a bit more of a look at that. But you can see, for example, I've got it set up so it goes through the Rodecaster in terms of the audio that's coming through into there, and that's all set up for my Rodecaster Pro 2 because that's how I do my streaming audio and gameplay audio. It runs into there and then it goes through the 3.5mm connection and comes to the headset. Obviously I've also tested it straight headset sound with just the USB connection and no interface in terms of the mic monitoring, but I wanted to demonstrate some of that. But one of the things that's most interesting about this headset is buried in these settings, and it's worth playing around with these because I said already it doesn't have much bass as standard, but once you start customizing the sound settings, which is what you can do in here, you really discover a lot of different changes that you can make. And it's not just about changing the EQ, there's also all sorts of settings in here. You'll see that it has presets, for example, for a variety of games. So if you're into Call of Duty Warzone, you have an option there. We have Escape from Tarkov, as I said already, Fortnite, Forza, GTA 5, PUBG, Rainbow Six Siege, and you also have Splitgate, Valorant, and other ones. And you get into music settings, and if you switch between these, you'll notice that the equalizer changes quite significantly, and some of these obviously been customized by specific things. You see CSGOs by phase twists, and you also have CSGO by Valve, so Valve suggested that would be the better audio, and then you've got Destiny by Bungie, and if you go further down you'll see that Rainbow Six has the Ubisoft settings, what they think is the best, and it's changing bass levels and mids and ranges and highs and all sorts of things like that to tweak the audio. Further down you also have these settings for spatial audio, so you can turn on spatial audio, and then you can tune the slider so you can put it towards performance to improve the sense of directionality and localization for competitive FPS, or go the other way for immersion so you get more environmental sound and more realistic audio, which is better for story-driven games. So basically you can customize all that, and then you can choose how spatial it is in terms of how close the virtual speakers will be to you, and you can adjust the gain levels, and then you've got smart volume setting which also sets the levels so that they're all similar, so it's basically like a normalization. You can basically automatically make sure that the sounds don't get too loud or too quiet. So there's loads of different settings in there that you can play around with, but it's really cool that it's customized for specific games, and I found you do need to play around with these to try and get it right for yourself, but it's worth looking at. You also have microphone and chat settings. So the chat settings, you can set it up so that it adjusts and does AI noise cancellation and things to your voice, so you can hear the microphone settings. For example, microphone settings here, I can go through and I can adjust. We can choose different settings. So we go broadcast high pitch, broadcast low pitch. So you can see this is applying different audio settings to my microphone, and you have the option to do that and get a different experience from it. You can also turn on Clearcast, AI noise cancellation, which blocks out some of the background noise as well. So there's loads of different tweaks that you can do in here. I will say the microphone won't blow your socks off. You can hear the quality of it versus my standalone proper dedicated microphone. But for a retractable microphone, which you can tweak the settings of quite significantly in a variety of different ways, is pretty fantastic. So there you have it, the Nova Pro Wireless, which is quite possibly my favorite headset for all the different reasons I've just been through with this really in-depth review. Hopefully you found this insight good. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to do a comparison with the Arctis Pro Wireless, the Astro A50, and probably the wired version of this headset, and any others. Let me know in the comments if there's any other headsets you'd like to see this compared to. I'm thinking the Corsair Virtuoso XT might be another logical one to compare it to, but it is very expensive. It is a very expensive headset, but you do have a lot of really cool features about it. The swappable batteries, the deep plush, comfortable ear cushions, good quality build quality. It's got a really good build quality to it. The strap system has been changed. The ear cups are now extendable, which they weren't very easily extendable on the original Arctis Pro Wireless. The ear cups also turn in and out nicely, so you've got a good clamping force. It's nice and comfortable on the head. The microphone's fairly decent. The battery life's good. Dual connectivity with Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. Customizable sound through Sonar. On PC it sounds magnificent. You don't have the 96 kilohertz 24-bit that you do get with the wired version, but you're still getting great sound out of it. It's also really loud, and you can turn it up obviously from the volume control on there really easily. So it's very loud, very good sound, very customizable. Just lacks a little bit of bass, I think, would be with my criticism of the sound. But obviously you can play around with the equalizer settings and change some of that. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and head over to my Discord to get stuck in and chat with me and ask me some questions if you want to, or let me know what you thought of this video. Thanks for watching.